Oh, what is the Upskis, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the GXHockeyCast. We're on episode 114, Matt Stajan, or Matt Stay On, of my little hockey show where once a week I go through all of the major news and what's happening around the NHL, mainly focusing in on the Leafs and the Calgary Flames. Those are my two favorite teams, but I'll be talking about all 32 teams on this podcast. And we actually have a pretty newsworthy week of stuff going on in the NHL. We're going to be talking about the Patrick Laine trade. He's on his way to Montreal. We're going to be talking about the Edmonton Oilers offer sheet drama that's been done. And there's some trades going on. There's some shit going on in the NHL. And of course, I'm going to be continuing on with the season overview of all 32 teams. This week, I plan on doing St. Louis and the Seattle Kraken. But before we get into the overviews, let's talk about, oh boy, what do we go with first? I think let's start with the Patrick Laine trade with Montreal. Let's go there because that one was pretty big and a little bit out of nowhere. Like there was a lot of, like we all knew that Patrick Laine was going to get traded and soon because Patrick Laine just got, not removed, but he's been off the the player assistance program, so he's out of that, and which means he was eligible to be traded, and he has been. So Patrick Laine is off to Montreal plus a second round pick in 2026, and going to Columbus is Jordan Harris, and that is all. So on paper it looks like Montreal clear winners, right? Well, we don't know that just yet. So obviously everyone's speculating, Patrick Laine, he can find that. Maybe he finally finds that 50-goal range that he was, shooting for when he first got into the NHL. Like, this guy's going to be a goal scorer, and it looked like he was going to get there. He had a couple of 40-goal seasons under his belt in Winnipeg, and then not so much. He's been dealing with injuries, personal issues, and so on and so forth. And maybe, Montreal isn't really the quietest market out there in the world, but hey, maybe a fresh start in a fun, awesome market like Montreal on a team that is up and coming, young and exciting. And hey, people may forget it, but Patrick Laine is still a pretty young guy. He's 26 years old. He's the same age as Austin Matthews. They were in the same draft. Remember that draft where people thought that the Leafs were actually maybe going to pick Patrick Laine over Matthews? I know everyone likes to think that was a possibility, but in reality, not even close, bro. It was never even considered. The Leafs were picking Matthews 110% no matter what. But hey, it's always fun to say, hey, what if? What if they were going to take Patrick Laine? Would have been one of the worst moves, if not the worst move in their history. No offense to Patrick Laine. That's just how good Matthews is. Anyway, so with Patrick Laine, what can the Montreal Canadiens expect out of him? Well, honestly, I don't really know because he's been so up and down. He's been moving around the league all over the place. So, it's a little bit difficult to gauge what you're going to get out of this player. He hasn't played a full season since 2018-2019, he's had a full 82-game season. He's only had 2 full seasons without missing any time. And yeah, so it's been a long time. It has been a long time since he has scored 30 goals. That has not happened since 2018-2019 as well. So he hasn't been a 30-goal guy in a long time. He's scored, during that span of no 30 goals, he's had 28. 10, 26, 22, and 16 last season. He only got into 18 games last year, and he's been with the Blue Jackets for the last 4 seasons, and it hasn't been a very good run. He had a couple of good short seasons. He had 56 points in 56 games in 21-22, and he followed that up with 52 points in 55 games. So he was tracking well, a point-a-game player in a full healthy season, sure. So, and on a Columbus team that hasn't been that good in the last few years, right? So, going to Montreal now, you got a very skilled center there in Suzuki. I don't know if he's 100% going to get slotted into that top line, but he's definitely slotted into that top 6, you would have to imagine. So, I feel like there's more talent already on the Montreal roster that could help out Laine more. They had Monahan, they got rid of him, but anyway, I already did the Montreal overview, and I've done the Columbus one. Things don't change all that much. I still don't think Montreal's going to crack into a playoff spot or anything, but this is a good move for them. I mean, semi-low risk. They have an abundance of young defensemen, so it kind of makes sense to give up one of them, and it's not the biggest one. It's not the biggest name. It's a name, of course, but bringing in Patrik Laine here. And a second-round pick, so that kind of goes with the salary cap. There was no retention there, and Laine's on a beefy deal, like $8.5 million for the next couple years. So, and if he's only a 52-point player, last season he was getting about a point every other game. So if he's a half a point a game player at $8.5 million, that ain't gonna cut the cheese. You know what I'm saying? So I would feel like Patrik Laine, hopefully very motivated. Maybe he wants to be in a big market. Columbus was it's a very passionate fan base, but they don't get the love, obviously. Nowhere near the love that Montreal gets, even with Winnipeg. Yes, they're a Canadian team, but they don't get the love either that other Canadian teams get, the Leafs. But that's okay. So, going to Montreal, what can we expect? Let's just be optimistic, and Patrik Laine plays 75 games. Let's say that. I think he should be good for 25 plus goals. I think that's a nice, easy, fucking goal to aim for Patrik Laine. He's going to a new market. He hasn't played a full healthy season in a long time. He's been dealing with shit in Columbus, so I think it's going to be a good thing for Patrik Laine. I hope so anyway. I really hope so. I loved Patrik Laine when he first got into the league. The dude was awesome. The hat trick that he had against the Leafs in that huge comeback game. He scored the overtime hat trick goal game winner. That was so sick, bro. He started off so hot. Patrik Laine was sick when he started. And he's still an awesome player. And the hair, the outfit, the guy's got personality, and I really want that to flourish again. And imagine, Laine coming up with Slafkovsky and Suzuki, and man, yeah, this is fun, man. That's a young, fun team. If I was a Canadiens fan, I'd be highly excited. This is an exciting team on the rise. If Kirby Dach could also stay healthy for the Habs, maybe there could be a great connection. Kirby Dach, Patrik Laine, Suzuki, Patrik Laine. Ooh, I'm getting excited. My wife's a Habs fan. I told her about Patrik Laine. She's not a hardcore fan, but she was semi-excited about that because, yeah, Patrik Laine's sick. So let's shoot for the stars for 60, 65 points, something like that for Patrik Laine, and let's hope he does a lot better than that. Regardless, that's a banger of a trade right there. Well done from the Montreal Canadiens, also picking up a second-round pick in 2026. Let's take a look at Jordan Harris. Now, I don't know a hell of a lot about Jordan Harris. I have not seen him play very much. All I know is that he is a young defenseman that was in this huge prospect pool that is the... Well, I guess he doesn't have a page or anything because nothing's popping up here for poor Jordan Harris. But regardless, it's a young defensive prospect coming into the Blue Jacket system. I feel like they have quite a few young defensemen, but you can never really have enough defensemen. I hope maybe Jordan Harris gets a better opportunity because there is a lot of young defensemen in Montreal, and maybe he's getting lost in the shuffle a little bit. Maybe there's more of an opportunity for him in Columbus. I hope for the best for both of these players, obviously. You want, especially the young players, I always want them to do good. I want Patrik Laine to bounce back and have a fantastic season. But this could go very bad for Montreal in the situation that Laine gets injured and many other Montreal Canadiens get injured. They have been an injury-prone team for the last little bit here, and they're bringing in a very, very injury-prone player. So it could go bad, but regardless, they could get Patrik Laine back to a 30-plus goal guy. Maybe they can trade him at some point, and they can recoup a lot more assets. I don't know, man. Montreal's been doing a lot of great work. I don't know their GM's name right now, but that dude is doing work right now, and Montreal fans should be excited, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait to see what Patrik Laine can do. I was just, speculating at work, what could Patrik, just imagine if he kicks off the season, first game in Montreal, first home game, he gets a hat trick or something. That kind of start, the crowd would go fucking banana, and Patrik Laine would, would eat that up, man. This guy needs some confidence, and man, if he can just get a hot start on a new team, and a team like Montreal on the rise, this could be great. So I can't wait to see what's going to happen with the Patrik Laine trade. I think right now, great work from Montreal, and we'll see what happens. It's too early to tell. We have not seen enough of Jordan Harris to see what's going to happen with that one. So since we're still on the topic of trades, there have been some other semi-minor-ish trades going on around the league. Nashville made a trade. They acquired Jordan Frasca, no idea who that is, but they send Cody Glass to the Pittsburgh Penguins plus a third-round pick in 25 and a sixth in 26. So freeing up a little bit of cap space here are the Nashville Predators. Really sucks the Cody Glass situation. He has just not really found his role in the NHL just yet. He was a first-round draft pick, if I do remember, with I think it was Vegas, and then so on and so forth. But here he is in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh needs young bodies, so hopefully he can find a spot in Pittsburgh, because boy howdy, do they ever need some young legs over there in Pittsburgh. And they're getting picks as well, so it's a win-win. I think, well, yeah, sure, win-win for that trade right there. We'll see how that one goes. Edmonton's having to do some work here, so they acquired Ottawa's fourth-round pick in 25 from Vancouver, or sorry, they sent that to Vancouver, my apologies, and they acquired Podkolzin from the Vancouver Canucks. Yeah, younger player who hasn't really found his spot right yet. Maybe he can find it with the Edmonton Oilers. Maybe he gets on a line with a fucking Draisaitl. Who knows? But interesting trade. And then the big one. Cody Ceci is out of here. No more Cody Ceci. He has been launched to the sun, a.k.a. the San Jose Sharks, to ride that one out right there. So Cody Ceci will already be one of their, probably a top 4 defensemen for the Sharks. And Edmonton brings in Ty Emerson. So that is a salary cap dump off right there. San Jose also getting a third-round pick in 25. So solid work. They get a body and a draft pick. Edmonton clears up some cap space. And I guess now that we're on the Edmonton Oilers, let's dive into this ridiculous drama that was the offer sheets from the St. Louis Blues, which were not matched by the Edmonton Oilers. So let's break this one down. Let's figure this out and see why Edmonton did it and if it was a good move or not. So we talked about it last week. The sheets, the offers were made on these players, Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg. So these offers for 2 years were probably around double the worth of these players. Dylan Holloway got like a $2-something million offer here. Hold on, I have him. $2.29 million. So yeah, that's probably around double what Edmonton would want to give him, and same thing with Broberg. They offered him a $4.5 million contract, and Edmonton was like these guys were not crucial players on their way to the Stanley Cup Finals. They are players that would be, I think, definitely would have had a role in this season, but for that money, Edmonton just couldn't make it work. They did launch off Cody Ceci, and yes, they do have money that they could have signed one of, possibly even both. They probably could have gotten it done. But Edmonton didn't want to be that up against the salary cap. And that's a smart move, man. That is a very smart move. We've seen it year and year and year again, how GMs spend right up to the dollar, and then something happens and they go, I have no money. Why no money? Why no move make? I can't do anything. I'm right up against it. And it's like, you did that. It's rather your owner says spend every dollar or else. That's basically how it goes for some teams. Other teams keep a lot of salary cap. Some teams are smart and keep a little bit of wiggle room, but because of COVID, it's been really, really bad the last 3 or 4 years now, because it's been a stagnant salary cap. It's exploding now, so we're getting out of it. But yeah, it's been rough tidings for a lot of teams. Some teams going down on their rosters just to make it underneath the salary cap. So yeah, understandably, Edmonton, with these contracts, that would make things very, very, very tricky for Edmonton to do moves. And those contracts could possibly end up being like detrimental to them possibly winning a Stanley Cup, because these players may not be living up to those contracts. Perhaps they are, but these are those, like, obviously they were going to sign bridge deals with Edmonton and they were going to be cheaper than that. But when you get offered that much more money, obviously you're going to take that opportunity, and there's a better opportunity for both of these players in St. Louis. Like, Broberg's going to have a better opportunity on that blue line, he is going to have more time than he would in Edmonton. Though it seemed like this was the year that Broberg was really going to get his chance in Edmonton throughout the full entire season. He's been, in and around the regular season. He really emerged in the playoffs. But I think Edmonton, rolling the dice here, saying like, hey, maybe he just popped off in the playoffs for a few games. Small sample size. We've had a bigger sample size. We think he maybe isn't that player. But I think Broberg's going to be a good player. And I think it's a smart move from St. Louis. I think it's kind of smart from both teams, honestly. And St. Louis did make a trade here with Edmonton. So this trade right here is to kind of smooth over possibly any animosity that Edmonton might hold towards St. Louis in the future. So St. Louis acquires future considerations on the move again. Edmonton gets Paul Fisher and a third-round pick. So that third-round pick in 2028 is basically a peace offering for like, hey, sorry we're doing this, but it's a business, it's cutthroat, we see an opportunity, and we're going to take it on you. But hey, here's Paul Fisher and a third-round pick, and, it's not a lot, but it's better than nothing. So we poach your players. They're also going to get some picks for that. The compensation, it's not a lot. Again, I think it's a third and a second round pick is what they got. But all said and done, I think St. Louis got a deal. Edmonton got something rather than nothing. So it fucking is what it is. It was a great move by St. Louis. We'll see how great it actually becomes in the future. How do these players develop? I really like it, man. This is why we need more offer sheets done in the NHL, because it's smart, man. It's a smart thing to do. These players are out there, and if teams are up against it and they can't match your offer, you got the money to do it, bitch. Absolutely, but don't do it to the Leafs. Don't you ever do it to the Leafs. Regardless, well done by St. Louis. So, with that being said, we're on the topic of St. Louis. Let's do the St. Louis Blues overview. I have not done them yet, so let's freaking dive into this team and see what they look like now. This is all up to date with Broberg on the books and Holloway's on the books now, so let's take a look at the St. Louis Blues. They have $2.2 million now after the new signings, the new players here. In terms of last season, there were 43, 33, and 6, 5th in the Central, 25th in goals for, 15th in goals against, power play 25th, and penalty kill 20th. So across the board, not that impressive. The best thing they had going for them last year was fucking Jordan Binnington and Hofer. Underratedly damn fine goaltending from those two right there last season. That was probably their highlight. Now we look at their team here on paper and their salary cap situation. So let's go to their stats and see their full team stats. See who was doing. I know there was a lot of heat on Jordan Kyrou. Not so much Thomas. I definitely know Thomas had a pretty nice season for himself. Not great. Actually not bad at all. So, leading scorer last season in 82 games, Robert Thomas, underrated player, man. This guy's awesome. 60 assists last year, 86 points in 82 games. That's a damn fine season. And good bang for your buck right there. $8 million, 1.25 for the next 4 seasons. I like that, man. Thomas is a great player. I think they poached him from Boston, I feel. Anyway, regardless, they got a great little player here. And hey, you know what? Jordan Kyrou, all said and done, kind of turned that season around. I feel like it was last year that the Blues fans booed him, and then he came back and had a banger of a game and then an emotional interview after, and he just kind of really rallied, like got the St. Louis fans back in his corner. He's like, I just love playing for St. Louis. I love this city, and I'm a fan of Jordan Kyrou, man. I know his game has some defensive deficiencies, but he's a passionate player, and I'm a fan. In 82 games, he got to 30 goals, 31 goals, 36 assists, 67 points. He was a minus 12, which is Robert Thomas was a plus 9, and this guy minus 12. So there's your defensive deficiencies coming through. So obviously there may be a bad turnover or two, or maybe a lacking of back checking that can bring Jordan Kyrou some heat. But he did get to the 31 goals. He's making a He's on the exact same contract as Robert Thomas, $8.125 million for the next 4 seasons. And not bad, man. I feel like that one's only going to age better as the years go on. He's only 26. Robert Thomas is 25. So it's going to take them to kind of an awkward spot in their careers where they're, 30 years old, 31 years old. And yeah, that's going to be an awkward spot to, these guys are going to be asking for raises. And we'll see how that one goes, but that's 4 years away. We're not worried about it. So then you get to Braden Shen. Braden Shen, I like him. He's a great two-way forward, 6.5 for the next 4 years as well. But not the greatest offensive season. 82 games, played a full healthy year, 20 goals, 26 assists, 46 points. I mean, not the worst. I mean, at 6.5, you could do worse. You would like some more points, but he did get to 20 goals. That's nice. They had a good amount of 20-plus goal scorers on this team. Not a lot of 30 goal scorers, but let me just count it out here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people had over 20 goals. So not bad right there. They could use, like I said, maybe another 30 goal scorers, but they might be getting one soon, and Jake Neighbors, we'll get down to him in a second, but Brandon Saad is up next. 4.5 for the next 2 years. And he had, in a full 82, they did not too bad in terms of health. 26 goals, 16 assists, 42 points. Not horrible for Brandon Saad right there at all. That's a good amount of goals for $4.5 million. He's 31 years old. Yeah, not bad. So the one that hurts them right now is that they didn't get a full season out of, I just have to find his freaking name, Bucci, where are you, baby? Wait, never mind. He did. Never mind. My bad. Buchnevich, Pavel Buchnevich. I really like this player, and he's getting paid now after, I think it's next year this extension kicks in. I think he's still, this season, 5.8, and then he goes up to an $8 million extension, not $8 more million, but he gets to $8 million a year. Last season, 27 goals, 36 assists, 63 points in 80 games. So I feel like Buchnevich can get up to that 30 goals. That's what you're expecting for that $8 million, you would hope. But he's a damn fine player. I really like him. He's 29 years old, so I'm fine with that contract. It might be a little bit expensive, but again, cap's going up, so it should be okay. They brought in Radek Faksa, 1 year, $3.25 million. Good defensive center. We'll see if he for that money, you would expect him maybe third-line center, and he's a damn fine two-way. I always picked him up in NHL GM modes as a third-line defensive center, penalty killer. He's fantastic. I don't really know if he's that good in real life, but I liked him because of the video games. They got Matthew Joseph here. Picked him up nice and cheap, I think, from Ottawa. I think they paid like a third-round pick for the guy, and I feel like he's on a nice contract, man. Where are we? $2.95 million, and let's just take a look quick and see what Matthew Joseph did last season. I feel like he had a damn fine season, and I could never really understand why Ottawa wanted to get rid of him so badly. I was like, dude, the guy is solid. I mean, well, maybe he's not as solid as I thought, but hold on now. So in 72 games last season, 11 goals, 24 assists, 35 points for under $3 million that's not bad at all, man. Not bad at all. I can see why St. Louis had some interest in him. It's not a bad contract. The next 2 years. So here's the new guy. You got Dylan Holloway. He's 22 years old. Next 2 years, $2.29 million. And we'll see where this kid slots into the lineup. Is he going to crack into that top 6? I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4. He could, man. He could fight for a spot. I mean, he might be fighting for it. It's going to be between, like, Matthew Joseph, Brandon Saad, and guys like Jake Neighbors. So he has an opportunity. We'll see what happens in training camp and the preseason and everything like that. But there is definitely, I can see an opportunity here for him to slot into a second, third line, something like that. But there hasn't been a lot of NHL experience for Dylan Holloway, so we'll see what he can bring, man. He's also, well, no, he stays in the West, so that's fine. There may not be a huge transition for him. I'm excited to see what he can do. They also have Alexander Texier, another guy they brought in, young, fairly, I know he hasn't been fantastic. I think he's been with Columbus for a while, but 24 years old, $2 million for the next 2 seasons. I mean, yeah, another young, it's a fairly young-ish team right here, man, honestly. It's not that old. They also have Oscar Sundqvist, 1.5, really solid bottom six forward, 1.5 mil for the next 2 years. They have Alexei Torpchenko, he's 25, $1.25 million for the next year. Let's take a look at Torpchenko and what he's been doing for the last, he is huge, holy shit, 6'6", 223 pounds, that's what I'm talking about. You can't teach size, so he's got that going for him. Last year, 82 games, he had 21 points. 14 goals, though. 14 goals is not bad at all, so we'll see if he can add on to that, but hey, not a bad bottom six situation. Then you have Jake Neighbors, man. This guy was scoring goals like crazy last season. He had 27 goals, not a lot of assists or anything like that, but there we go. The whole thing just reloaded on me, so we're just gonna do it the hard way. But Jake Neighbors, this is his last year on his entry-level deal, and then he is going to get paid. How much is that going to be? I don't think it's going to be crazy, but he's definitely going to be making less than $800,000, that's for sure, and especially if he can add on to the 27 goals that he scored last season and get some more assists. 77 games, 27 goals, 11 assists, 38 points. 27 goals is very impressive. We'll see, like I said, if he can add on to that, crack into 30, and hopefully maybe crack into the 50-55 point range, get some more assists, and that would be great. I really like Jake Neighbors, man. He's a solid player. I liked picking him up every now and again in the fantasy because he's always, flopping around, in and around. Oh, baby, that was a good one. Kasperi Kapanen is here as well. $1 million for the 28-year-old former Toronto Maple Leaf. What do we think? For $1 million, I really can't be all that upset about it. He's extremely fast. He has played on the penalty kill before. He was decent with the Leafs until he threw a stick and just became the biggest idiot of the day, but and we'll never forget it. But hey, for $1 million, he's 28 years old. That's not a bad contract. You can bury that. You can move it. No problems with that one. They have Nathan Walker, and they have not signed Sammy Blais just yet. I feel like they could, but if they were gonna do it, they probably would have done it by now. But maybe now that they have the offer sheets done, maybe they will re-sign Sammy Blais. Also, in terms of draft picks, they've moved quite a few for this upcoming year. They do have their first in 25, but they don't have their second, third, fourth, or seventh. So yeah, so they've moved quite a few picks. That is going to be the picks that they had to give to Edmonton. I feel like it was the second and the third. Regardless, they still have a first, so they haven't lost the first. That's good. Next year, they don't have a second either. That might be of the offer sheet thing. They have an extra fifth. And then 27, they're all good. They got everything available to them there. So forward-wise, there's a lot of potential here, but it's not the craziest offense. It's okay. It's a decent offense. If Kyrou can, start the season the way that he on the back half, if he can kick it off really good as well, maybe work on that defense. Robert Thomas continues to play the way he just be you, dog. And yeah, you're going to need a bounce back from Braden Shen. He is getting older now, and he has played some hard years. He's a more physical player. He's 32 now, so he might start declining, and that 6.5 might start looking a little bit good. But regardless, like I said, if we could get some explosions out of people like Matthew Joseph and Dylan Holloway, but I'm not expecting that. But you could, again, this is a team that has a good amount of 20 goal scorers. So, hey, maybe some of them become 30 goal scorers. But it's a solid offense. It's not crazy, but it's not bad. In terms of defense is a little bit interesting. So, Justin Falk. Really like Justin Falk, man. He's not the greatest defensively, and if you could turn back the clock, St. Louis should have never gotten rid of Pietrangelo and done what they done, bringing in Torrey Krug and Justin Falk. I get what they were doing, but I think combined, Pietrangelo brought more to the St. Louis Blues than what Falk and Torrey Krug are bringing to them. That's just my opinion. But for $6.5 million for the next 3 years for the 32-year-old defenseman, he puts up a decent amount of points. Justin Falk, he's got a great shot. He's decent on the power play. Last season, though, wasn't the greatest. He only got in 60 games, 30 points in those 60 games, only 2 goals. So, Yeah, pretty rough year for Justin Falk. That's going to be a tough one to get rid of if they're going to try. Torrey Krug, they've already tried to get rid of a few times, I feel like. He's 33 now. That's crazy. 6.5 for the next 3 seasons. And, yeah, I don't know. He's an undersized defenseman. He's not really putting up he's putting up okay numbers, like 77 games, 39 points. It's not bad. It's not great. Only 4 goals right there, so they're not getting a lot of goal support from their back end like they used to. Torrey Krug hasn't played a full healthy season for the Blues. He's in fact never played a full healthy season, period. So yeah, these are 2 defensemen. I don't know, like it would be good if they could possibly get out of those contracts, but I don't know if they will. They have Colton Parayko, who's been, on the trade block for 7 years now, always rumored to go to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Right-handed defenseman, 6.5, shoots right, 31 years old, didn't have the greatest season last year, hoping to bounce back. They have the new guy, Philip Broberg, who's, in terms of cap space, he's already slotted into that top 4. I could see him getting into that top 4. I mean, he's a left-hand shot, so he could pair up decently with a Parayko. He could pair up with Justin Falk, but I don't know. But Philip Broberg's making 4.5. I don't think he's necessarily lived up to that contract just yet, but he could, man. If he plays the way that he played in the playoffs for this season for the Blues, he'll be well worth that 4.5, and yeah, it'll be great. They have Nick Leddy, 33 years old, $4 million for the next 2 years. He's starting to round it down. They have Scott Perunovich. There you go, I got it. Scott Perunovich, I got that shit. 26 years old, so he kind of is what he is at this point. He's aight, but 1.15. I don't think he's like anything special. They brought in Ryan Suter. At least now he's making league minimum, 39 years old. I mean, he was kind of like bad for the Dallas Stars. So, I mean, for the money, that's not bad. They can bury that. But for, to bring in a veteran, even though their defense is old as fuck, but maybe Ryan Suter can help Philip Broberg. There's definitely a lot of veterans that can help out Philip Broberg if he needs some fucking veteran help. There's a ton of veteran help on the Blues defensive lineup, but their defense isn't that great. But thankfully, their goaltending has been pretty good. Jordan Binnington, I know people fucking hate the guy, but I drafted him last year in fantasy, and I was damn happy with him the whole entire year. He was damn solid. And so was Hofer. Hofer, 24 years old. This guy is definitely the goaltender of the future for the St. Louis Blues. And I don't think Jordan Binnington is going anywhere. There were rumors last year, I think him going to Edmonton. For $6 million, like, for the way that he played last year, yeah, even for the way that he played, like, it's a little bit rich, but he is a Stanley Cup winning goaltender, so he has pedigreed, he has all that shit. So, he's making 6. He was a good goalie though, man. He had a good season last year. Let's pull it up. I know he had a good season because I had him, and he played very nicely. So 2.84 goals against average percentage, man. Yeah, that's damn fine. And for a young goaltender, goaltenders are tough. It doesn't mean he's going to be this good every single season, but Joel Hofer had a solid year last season. He's still making league minimum for the next season. He had a .914 save percentage in 30 games. So it looks like the goaltending tandem should be solid. That might be their best asset right here is their goaltending tandem. We'll see if Binnington can continue to be that good. I know they have some young players. I think it's Dvorsky here. That looks like a name that pops out to me. Bolduc, is that a name? Zach Dean, is that a name? Like, it's tough, man. Like, there's names down here, like, you think they're familiar, but I'm not really 100%. Lindstein is on defense. Is that a guy they're looking for? I'm trying to figure. Matthew Kessel. God damn, yeah, I love that guy. He was actually pretty decent, I think, for them last season. Anyway, I don't see any names that are really popping out to me, but St. Louis is a really tough team to gauge, man. Last year, I was pretty optimistic with them, with some of the moves that they made, picking up Kapanen really cheap and stuff like that. And again, I am still a fan of what they are doing here in St. Louis. They are taking chances on younger guys. This season, even more so. Like, this time, they went the offer sheet route, and I think it could really pay off for them. I don't know if they're going to be if those moves necessarily are really going to push them towards the playoffs. They were fighting, like they were close. They didn't make it, but are these additions good enough? I mean, they added in Faxa some decent help on their defense. They have Matthew Joseph. I mean, I could see them fighting. I can see St. Louis definitely being a wild card team. I think they're going to fight for one. I think they could potentially sneak their way into the playoffs this season. I've always kind of sneakily really liked the Blues. They've just always been kind of a competitive team and under the radar. Bunch of players that like never really shoot out to you, but there's just a lot of really solid players like David Backes back in the day, David Perron, like come on now. Some good-ass players for St. Louis, and I love their jerseys. Always love the St. Louis blue. The blue note looks great. I love the colors, so I've always been a little bit of a fan of St. Louis. So I like them. I want them to be fighting for a playoff spot, and I don't think they're going to do any damage really if they make it into the playoffs. Like, are there really any big playoff threat guys on this team? I don't really know, but there's guys on this team that I'm rooting for. A lot of the young guys, I hope they make it, man. Like, I'm hoping that Jake Neighbors can crack 30. I hope that freaking Broberg becomes a bona fide, like, top 4 defenseman for St. Louis, and everything works out great. But yeah, I think St. Louis can compete for a playoff spot this year in the NHL. That would be really key. So speaking of really key, let's talk about some of the really key signings that have gone down. We haven't really checked in on that in a little while because there really hasn't been all that much going on over the last few weeks. Nolan Foote got a 1-year extension with the New Jersey Devils. Matthew Phillips, he signed a 1-year deal with the Colorado Avalanche. Calgary doing a couple of things. They signed Adam Klapka, 1-year extension. League Min, they re-signed Yan Kuznetsov for 1 year. So we have the St. Louis Blues, offer sheets were done. Just round out the numbers here. $4.58 million was paid to Dylan Holloway in total, and $9.16 to Philip Broberg, both two-year deals. We'll see how it plays out. And then the big one. We got Matty Beniers, folks. He has signed a 7-year extension worth $7.14 million for the 21-year-old forward. Let's take a look at Matty Beniers' short career so far. I know he had a bit of a down season last year, not as good as the season prior. He definitely struggled quite a bit. In fact, last season, his numbers just won't come up. So we'll take a pause here for just a moment. And that moment is now complete. So, Matty Beniers definitely did suffer from a sophomore slump last season. 77 games, 37 points. In the year prior, he had 57 points in 80 games, 24 goals. Last season, only 15 goals. So this is very common. I don't think the alarm bell should be ringing or anything like that. I think the Kraken feel the same way, hence the 7-year extension. This happens. So Matty Beniers in his first full season, the league doesn't know this kid yet. He's fresh, he's new, they don't really know what he can do yet. And then the scouting reports start to come out, teams start to get familiar with things that he likes to do. And last season, it seems like teams were like, all right, this is how we can utilize and start to, I don't even know suppress. There you go, suppress Beniers a little bit. So he now needs to adjust, and they will do that in the offseason. It's like, hey, these are things that people are starting to track on your game. You can change this, do this. I think Matty Beniers, this is going to be a crucial season for him, obviously, with the extension. There's going to be some pressure on him now. He's obviously been, looks like he could be the potential future captain of this team. He was their first big draft pick, second overall. And he already looks like he's 30 years old. Like, he's got that look. So, and he looks the way he looks. He's a very mature young man. So that's great. He has a lot of leadership potential, and I think with that, he's going to bounce back very strongly. I don't know if he's going to come back and nail 30 goals or something like that, but let's shoot for 60 points and hope that he can get back there. Let's hope that he can at least get to or surpass that 57 points that he had in his first full season in the NHL. That would be great for him. Regardless, I like the extension. It's only $7 million. I think Beniers on a Stanley Cup winning team would more than likely be a second-line center, you would think, the way that it's been going for him so far. But the good thing about him is that he's got a pretty damn solid defensive game to him already as a young player, so that's really good going forward for him. He's only going to get better defensively and hopefully get better offensively with each coming season. So Matty Beniers, I like his extension. For some reason, it's being really weird on the Puckpedia. Hopefully I haven't been getting every single contract wrong because, I know he's signed a 7-year extension, but it says here he's only signed for the next 4 seasons. So that's interesting. So we'll keep that in mind. Apologies if I've been saying any contracts for their length as incorrect, but that would be a Puckpedia problem. So we move on. So we have Matthew Beniers now. He is the highest paid player on the team, at least forward-wise, which is, it kind of makes sense. He is one of the higher scoring forwards on the team, just not last season. So they brought in Chandler Stevenson as well. $6.25 million for the 30-year-old center. It says 4 years, but we'll put an asterisk on that because I apparently have no idea now. But Chandler Stevenson, we know this guy. He was a great forward, a fantastic pickup for the Vegas Golden Knights. They nicked him away from Washington, and he became a fantastic player for the Vegas Golden Knights in his whole tenure there on a bargain contract. Now he's getting paid. So over the last 3 years, he's been a 64, 65, and 51-point player. So hoping for somewhere in and around that middle spot. Let's hope for 55 to 60 points for Chandler Stevenson. But like I said, new team, new role. Maybe he gets more opportunity. But when you're looking at Vegas compared to Seattle, there's some higher-end talent in Vegas that Stevenson was probably playing with. But hey, if he gets paired up with McCann and that's a great situation, maybe he can pop off and get a lot of assists. But I wouldn't expect like an explosion of points for Chandler Stevenson. I wouldn't expect him to maybe like get more than 65 points, but I think it's a good pickup. Like Chandler Stevenson's a solid ass player. Hopefully he can be worth that $6.25 million because Seattle is right up against it. As I'm looking at their cap space right now, it is at $4,286. That is it. That might be the smallest amount in the green I have seen to date. So that's rather impressive for the Seattle Kraken. We'll see if that strategy plays out for them. It's not usually a great idea to be right up against the cap. So in terms of what they did last season, they were 6th in the Pacific, 34, 35, and 13. So pretty frustrating season, like a win, a loss kind of year, and it's just, I hate those. So they were 29th in goals for last season, so they really struggled to put the puck in the net. They were fantastic at keeping the puck out of the net, no. They were 9th in the league in goals against, their power play was 17th, and their penalty kill 19th, so kind of middle-ish of the pack right there for specialty teams, so the glaring issue was goal scoring. Did they do enough in terms of bringing people in the offseason? Well, so far, they have Chandler Stevenson. Jaden Schwartz, Jaden Schwartz hasn't played like a full season in a long time himself, I don't believe, but I've always liked Jaden Schwartz. He's a good player when healthy. 62 games last year, 13 goals, 17 assists, 30 points. So not a great season for Jaden Schwartz either. I feel like a lot of people had a down season for the Kraken last year, and prior to that, the year they made it to the playoffs, I feel like everyone kind of overplayed, did a really good. It was a really fun season for the Kraken. Last year was definitely a little bit of a bummer with a lot of the injuries and just, kind of lacking of goals. So they have, what else? Yeah, Jaden Schwartz, 5.5 for the next 2 seasons. He's 32 years old, so they'll probably just play that one out. If he could just stay healthy, that would really, really help out. Oliver Bjorkstrand, he played a full 82 last season and 59 points in 82 games. 20 goals, 39 assists. Not bad, not great. I mean, for 5.4, again, that's a solid market right there. That's fine for Oliver Bjorkstrand. You would definitely, 20 goals, you would like maybe a little bit more than that, but again, you want a little bit more from everybody. You have Yanni Gourde, 80 games last year, 11 goals, 22 assists, 33 points. You're definitely going to want more out of Yanni Gourde at $5.16 million. He's 32 years old now, and he's had some tough years there in Tampa Bay with those long playoff runs. Yeah, definitely not getting what you want out of Yanni Gourde right now. Then you have the man. It's Jared McCann. So he didn't score the 40 goals that he did the year prior or anything like that, but he had 29. They did not have a 30-goal scorer on this team. I mean, when you're that low on the goal scoring list, yeah, you're not going to have a lot of 30-goal guys, and their main goal scorer didn't crack 30 this prior season. So hopefully he can get back, and I don't think he's going to be getting 40 very often or possibly ever again, which is fine. He's only making $5 million for the next 3 years, man. That's definitely one of the biggest bargains they have. That's probably the best deal they have on their team. He's been doing fantastic for them. And last season, 62 points with 29 goals for $5 million. There's every team in the league would kill for that. So yeah, nothing wrong with Jared McCann. Like, it'd be nice if he could score 40 again, but for what he's doing for them at the price he's at, no complaints. No complaints at all. They still have Jordan Eberle. He's making $4.75 for the next 2 years. Really like Jordan Eberle, man. 17 goals, 44 points last year in 78 games. I mean, he's 34 now, so I mean, yeah, he's going to be on the back part of his career now. He's definitely making a little bit too much, but veteran, so on, so forth. You have Brandon Tanev, a fan favorite right there, more than likely going to have a funny picture. Only got into 66 games, 7 goals, 9 assists, 16 points for $3.5 million. I know he's kind of the physical, emotional leader, but you don't want to. Everyone needs. Okay, we'll just say it right now. Everyone needs to step the fuck up in points this season. God damn it, Kraken, we need some points. So they have Eli Tolvanen. I really like Eli Tolvanen. They brought him over from Nashville. He's been pretty good. I mean, I would love for him to break out. Like, he's always been such a top prospect in a lot of the video games, and he gets really good. And he's been good, but not great. Not the prospect. He hasn't really flourished into the prospect that he was drafted as. But 81 games, 16 goals, 25 assists, 41 points. For a guy that's making $3.475, not bad. Not bad at all. And then we got Shane Wright. Very interested to see what's going to happen with Shane Wright this season. Is he going to finally crack into the NHL and find a spot here? He's 20 years old now. He's still on his entry contract. So, I mean, they don't have to rush it. He's only 20 years old. Like, he looks like one of those prospects that just may not make it. Like, maybe a Lafreniere situation where it just takes a long time. Like, I can see it being a little bit longer until we see Shane Wright become Shane Wright, or he just may never live up to that, first overall potential hype, and we know that he dropped down to 4th overall, but hey, man, we'll see what happens. I'm always very excited for these young players and see if they can crack the lineup. That would be cool. Apparently they did not offer there's been no offer on Kailer Yamamoto. He's still out in the free agency pool, just sitting out there chilling. No one's taking a bite on him. He's 25 years old. Like, I imagine this is the PTO time. I would imagine he's going to get a PTO somewhere and sign with somebody. He's just I don't know. I feel maybe Edmonton would take another shot on, hey, you want to come back, bro? Come on over. They also have Pierre Edward Belmar. He's 39. I don't think anyone's going to be re-signing him. No offense. You're 39. You're a bottom 6 forward, so don't really expect much out of that. Yeah, their forward group is pretty. I could see why it was so low in the goals for. There are no superstars in terms of offense. I mean, Matty Beniers, again, I think he can be an elite top second line center. I don't really see him yet being an elite top center in this league. Maybe that's what Shane Wright becomes at some point. That can be a great 1-2 punch of the future, but as of right now, this forward group doesn't strike any form of fear into me unless they can get back to the way that they were 2 years ago when they made it into the playoffs, where they're just rolling 4 lines. And this team, you look at it, there's a lot of guys that are like second, third line players, or like really good second, third line players. Not a lot of first line talent, I would say, on this team, but that wasn't a detriment to their team when they made it to the playoffs. It was actually a benefit of having like 4 second lines or 2 second lines and 2 third lines. Like, it's just kind of a constant rolling of lines. It's just last year those lines weren't scoring the way that they were prior. So if they can roll an effective 4-line situation, they should be fine. But we'll just have to wait and see, man. I know people hate to hear that, wait and see, but that's all we can really do here. It's just, as I'm looking at it, I'm seeing a fairly mediocre, fairly on the older side offense. Like, you're looking at 30 years old, 32, 29, 29, 32, 28, 34, 32. And yeah, they have some 20-year-olds. They have a Ty Carte. I've heard that name, but he's 23 years old, so I don't know if there's a lot there in that player. Then it comes to defense. They did some work here on defense. So they got Vinny D. Vinny D. I really like this player. I know he was getting some heat last season for maybe not being the most defensively responsible, but point-wise, he was great again. In 81 games, 64 points. I mean, wow. 14 goals, 50 assists. Outstanding. Absolutely outstanding season. Hold on. Hold on now. That was the year prior. My fucking bad. So, that was a great season. Last year, he missed some games. 59 games played, 11 goals, 35 assists, 46 points. That is fucking excellent for 59 games played. So, maybe that was a big reason why the Kraken struggled a lot. This guy is obviously a huge part of their offense, and he missed a good chunk of the season right there. So if they have a fully healthy Vinny D on the blue line, maybe that'll help their offense a lot more. And not only do they have Vinny D back there, but they brought in Brandon Montour. So it says here that Vinny D is on a contract for the next 3 seasons. Take that with a grain of salt. I have no idea, apparently. Brandon Montour, though. So this one's going to be very interesting, coming off of, did he not just win the Stanley Cup? I believe he did. So yeah, he is going to be making some money right now. And it could be risky, man. It really could be. He's had a very interesting 3.5 seasons with the Florida Panthers. So he comes in his first season with Florida, 81 games, 37 assists. All right, yay. That was already quite the increase over his prior career totals in Buffalo. And then the next season, he fucking exploded. With all the injuries that were going on the blue line with the Panthers, this guy exploded. In 80 games, 16 goals, 57 assists, 73 points. That's insane. That is a almost 40-point increase over his career high. So you gotta take that, like, you gotta look at his career numbers. The highest he had before that was in Anaheim, 32 points. So it could be risky. We'll see. Last season, he was pretty good as well. Definitely not as good as the 73 points, but he came in injured. He only got into 66 games, so 33 points in 66 games. That tracks out to be about a 40-point player, back to maybe where he was the first season with Florida, where he was 81 games, 11 goals, 26 assists, 37 points. So if I was a Kraken fan, I wouldn't be looking at that 73 points. I would be looking more at those 37, 40-point range, honestly. He's still a great defenseman. I just don't think he's going to bring that sort of offense to that team. Like, Florida's got a lot of high-end forwards over there that the Kraken just don't have. So if I'm being truthful here, I would expect optimistically like 45 points, maybe if he can get to 50, that would be good. I would shoot for the stars for 50 points on a fully healthy Brandon Montour season. That should be pretty decent for $7.5 million for the next however amount of years. He's 30 now, so there could be some rougher years on the back end of that, but so far, I think that could be a really good signing. That could be a 1-2 punch of Vince Dunn and Brandon Montour. They can put them on the same line, or they can split them up. I think it would be much better to split them up. It would be, like, you could pair them up on the power play. We'll see what happens there, but I think the Kraken should split them up. They have Jamie Alexiak here. Kind of a rich contract at 4.6, but he's a big defensive defenseman. So, physicality has been a popular thing, especially on the blue line recently. So that could be decent. They have Adam Larson, who's been underrated as fuck lately. He has been so good for the Kraken. Defensively, he's outstanding. Offensively, nothing really crazy, but he's not bad for $4 million. I think he's worth more than that, honestly. They have William Borgen, one more year at 2.7. Can't honestly say I know all that much about him, honestly. They have Riker Evans. He's a younger defenseman. Maybe he gets some more time on the blue line with them this season. And they have Josh Mahura. They have not re-signed Justin Schultz. Justin Schultz is still out on the free agency market. No one's taken a shot at him yet. He's 34 years old. He's more of an offensive defenseman, but yeah, definitely on the back nine of the career. I can definitely see him signing a PTO with somebody. And then we have the goaltending. So I have a notorious history with my hatred of Philip Grubauer because I put all my eggs in the Grubauer basket the year that the Kraken came in. I thought he was going to be an outstanding goalie, and the Kraken looked like a defensive juggernaut. Like, I was like, okay, I can see that this team can't score, but I think defensively they should be amazing. And it was kind of the opposite. They were scoring fine, and their goaltending was so bad. So bad. I remember watching the first Kraken game. I don't know if it was their first one, but I watched a Kraken game, and I watched Grubauer let in like 3 of the shittiest goals I may have ever seen in my life, and I've hated him ever since. So, yeah, I'm not a big fan of Philip Grubauer. He's making $5.9 for the next 3 years, they're saying, but okay, we'll see about that. But last year he was actually decent. He was playable, at least. An .899 save percentage, not good. 2.85 goals against average, not great, and in 36 games. So he wasn't even the main goaltender last year. I think he was dealing with injury. His Seattle Kraken run's been dog shit. 8.89, 895, 899. He has not cracked a 900 save percentage since he got to Seattle. He was great in Colorado. He was fucking outstanding in Washington, but he has not found his role with the Seattle Kraken. I thought he did better last season, but apparently not. 899 is not good. That's below league average. That's quite below. So then you have Joey Daccord. I think Joey Daccord had a pretty oh baby, holy jumping Joey Daccord. 50 games, 2.46 goals against our 916 save percentage. Oh baby, now that's what I'm talking about. If they can get that again out of Joey Daccord and get some form of usable goaltending a little bit out of Philip Grubauer, they should have bought his ass out, man. What are you doing with Philip Grubauer? Get rid of this guy. He sucks. So, their goaltending tandem, it's, you got to rely on hoping that Joey Daccord can do what he did last season again, and that's a risky gamble. $1.2 million for only 1 more year, so good luck with that one. I'm sorry. I do not like Philip Grubauer whatsoever. In terms of their draft picks, they're doing okay. They have everything available to them for the next 3 years. Plus, they have 2 extra fourths. They have an extra 4th in 25 and an extra 4th in 26. So this team looks very, very mediocre on paper. I'm optimistic, though, that they could get back to the way that they were playing 2 years ago. They can get a fully healthy year out of Vince Dunn, and we'll see what Brandon Montour can bring to that back end. I think that's going to be crucial for them. They need Matthew Beniers to bounce back, and the Shane Wright question mark. Like, is he going to crack the lineup this year? Is he going to be an impact right away if he can make the lineup? We'll have to wait and see. And some of their older players are only getting older. Like, I don't know, man. Like, we'll see. I don't really think the Kraken are bound for the playoffs. I think they should be competitive, maybe a wild card team. But as of right now, I don't think the Seattle Kraken are going to make the playoffs. But let me know what you think. Do you think the Kraken are going to make it, or is it going to be a no fuego for the Kraken? Oh, man. And speaking of no fuego, Askarov is saying no fuego, senor, to Barry Trotz and his assignment to the NHL or AHL possibilities. So Askarov in Nashville has demanded a trade out. And, yeah, Barry Trotz is like, he says the GM thing. Oh, we'll do something. Well, maybe not. Maybe, gave us nothing answers. So, as of right now, there has been no trade, but he demanded one, and it's kind of been out there for a little bit now since the Saros extension that, they have their goaltender. They have Saros in net, and then they have this young phenom down there, and he doesn't want to play in the AHL no more. There's a very good chance that he could challenge for the backup spot this season for Nashville, no problem, but clearly the future in Nashville is UC Saros. They kind of made that clear with the extension, right? I mean, they could move Saros, but that opportunity was last season. That was the time to trade Saros if they're going to do it. Now he's got the big extension. There's going to be less offers. There's going to be a lot less opportunity to trade him. So I think they're fine with their gamble on Saros. He's been fantastic so far. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And Askarov could potentially bring back goaltenders are very, very difficult, right? Like, yes, this is a highly touted prospect, but goalies, even good goalies, don't bring back a lot in trade markets. Like, you look at Corey Schneider got traded for a first-round pick, and like he was an elite goaltender at the time when he got traded, and that's kind of, I mean, yes, that did turn out to be Bo Horvat, which you trade up Bo Horvat for straight-up Corey Schneider, not bad, but we look at the past of goaltender trades, they just generally don't bring you all that much, so I could see Nashville's hesitancy on moving him. It'd be better if they can get him into the NHL, play some backup games, show the league that this guy is a bona fide NHL goaltender, and yeah, then they can maybe get a little bit more for him, but it's always kind of rough when a player comes out and says, hey, I demand a trade. I want out. That, lets everybody know that, all right, I mean, he doesn't have to move him. He doesn't have to do shit, but the thing is, Askarov said he ain't reporting to the AHL. Yeah, I won't be there, homie. And yeah, he says that. Will he do it? I don't know, man. Like, do you want to fuck your career up or not? Like, I don't know. I wouldn't do it personally. I would report where they tell me to report, and yes, demand a trade. That's fine. That's totally within your realm, but don't fucking not show up, man. That's gonna be bad. That's gonna put a bad taste in everyone's mouth. Everyone's gonna know that you didn't show up, and that's just bad, man. You don't want to have that on your repertoire. So just, I know he's probably pissed. I imagine there's a lot of emotion behind what he said, so I wouldn't take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. I don't think this guy's gonna just not show up. If he does, he does. I mean, fuck, all right. But not a decision I would make. Let's, again, here's my favorite sentence. We'll have to wait and see what a Askarov trade is going to look like. What do you think it looks like? I think at best, you're going to swap prospects, maybe prospects that want moved. You're going to maybe at best get a first-round pick. Like, that might be, like, your best, like, as a first round. Like, is that worth it to you? I feel like a lot of teams would take shoot a first-round pick to get an Askarov. Like, maybe Edmonton takes a shot and tries to bring in an Askarov and see, hey, maybe this could be our goaltender of the future, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Where do you think Askarov ends up? Is he going to end up a Toronto Maple Leaf, a Calgary Flame? Calgary wouldn't make any sense. They already got a young goaltender over there. But interesting. It's always interesting when players make this a situation. Speaking of a situation, they kind of have a situation going on there in Philadelphia with Ryan Johansson, who has been nothing but a headache for those Philadelphia Flyers since he showed up. Not really. It's not Ryan's fault that he fucking is here. I got traded here, goddammit. And ever since he got there, they've wanted nothing to do with poor Ryan Johansson. Like, we hate this guy. We don't want anything to do with him. I'm John Tortorella, and I fucking don't like him. So get rid of him. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to terminate the contract of Ryan Johansson, which is worth $8 million. So Ryan Johansson's like, yo, fuck that. You ain't terminating shit. So he's fighting it. He's going to try and fight it, win that money back, or I don't really know what the hell is going on over there, man. Like, can't they, I don't know. Why don't they just, I don't know. I don't get it, but that's what's going on over there in Philadelphia. There's some real hatred there between Tortorella and Ryan Johansson. They don't want to deal with each other. They've dealt with each other in Columbus prior, and I guess it was really, really bad over there. So that's happening. And one other thing before I get out of here, where I'm only going to do 2 overviews this week. We'll keep it at 2, but one final thing is Ryan Getzlaf joins the Department of Player Safety, which could use some help. And hopefully Ryan Getzlaf can, smarten up that player safety people and smack them upside the head and be like, hey, can we get some fucking consistency in these suspensions, and we need some fucking ground rules. We need some foundation in this fucking system that makes no sense. So hopefully that's what Ryan doing right now. He's kicking down doors and smacking people around, being like, listen, I'm big, I'm mean, I'm better than you. And, I understand that Ryan Getzlaf has maybe ride the line in a couple of situations in his career as well, but those are the kind of guys that they bring in for player safety things. They have George Peros there, fucking fighter, dirty, all that shit. So, I don't know. But that's really interesting. I like Ryan Getzlaf. Makes me laugh. I think he's a funny guy and all that great stuff. Former Stanley Cup champion, all that great stuff. So there you go, everybody. I think that's everything that I want to talk about this week. It's been interesting. It's definitely been interesting. Let me know what you think of those offer sheets. Very cool. I think they're so cool when they actually go down. Like, they generally only happen in my NHL video games. Like, I'm the only one offer sheeting people, and sometimes I get offer sheeted, and it's fucking sucks. But it's so cool. It's so cool to talk about, so cool to see. I'm really excited for St. Louis. I mean, they're trying, man. You got to commend them for at least trying some shit out. I'm really impressed with what they've done. Is it enough to get them into the playoffs? I don't really know yet. I think they're definitely going to be competing for a spot, but they're definitely not in like no threat for a Stanley Cup or anything like that. But hey, let me know if I'm wrong and all that good stuff. And in terms of what else we got going on with the podcast this week, GamerCast is going to be Metal Gear Solid 5. Absolutely cannot wait to talk about that fucking game. It was so friggin' awesome, so I'm going to be talking about that on the GamerCast. And the WrestleCast is going to be a big one this week. Going to have the regular recap, and then it's going to be AEW all in Wembley. I would say that's their WrestleMania of the year. It's the biggest show, massive stadium event with a potential 80,000 plus people there. I'm very nervous at how many people are actually going to show up, but we'll find out on Sunday how many are actually going to be there at Wembley. I know the wrestling's going to be phenomenal. I'm a little bit nervous about the show overall, but I'll watch it and I will review it for you whenever I get through it. There's going to be a ton of wrestling. AEW pay-per-views are just a marathon of wrestling matches. There's probably 87 matches on the card, and I will review all of them for you, and we'll discuss it later on in the week. But that'll do it for me, folks. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening. I also upload all of these to YouTube on the GamerGX Videos YouTube channel. All the links are in the description. There's a Twitter page. You can go over there where I put up announcements as best as I can. And hey, if you want to send in a question for the podcast, let me answer it live and shout out your name, all that good stuff. Send in a question, put it in the comments on the YouTube channel, send a message on Twitter, or there is an email address there for you as well. If you want to have a private conversation or anything like that, my door is open for everyone and anyone. And there we go, everybody. Another hockey cast down. We will be back again with some GX Plus Cast.